and we're gonna like every week this class is Sachat Chalei Tzal and the Sefer Tzanua v'Chasupim and the Lishmat Chal HaKadosh Shir Diner Shem Yikom Damo. Interesting times. Always, never dull. So we're continuing on the show. History repeats itself. We left off with Avimelech. Avimelech just got killed. The son of Yerubal Gidon. He was the unofficial king. God is the king, and they made his vest, and that turned into an idol. But he refused to be a king. But remember him; he was appointed by God. Prophet came to him and chose him. You're gonna save the Jewish people. Really, me? Yes, you. Test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4. But it was a very God-done providence, and that was done, if you recall, without Am Yisrael doing tshuva. It was kind of a mishap. They're in the muck of Avodah Zarah, and God just helps them out anyway. Immediately after, we have the Shoftim that we don't know a lot about, Tula ben Fu'ah, right? All we know that he was a cousin of Gidon, and he was from Ephraim. He was 23 years, and then you have Yair Giladi, 22 years old, and he had an entire. We're in chapter Yud, and he had a whole donkey company, which was important because that's probably how he got his power through being rich. He wasn't chosen by God either. And then something interesting happened. It starts getting very bad. Am Yisrael gets deep into idol worshiping, and they worship all types of idols. They have do את הבעלים, את השטרות, והעם, ואת העידון, ובני עמון, ואת פלישתים. They worship the Aram gods in the north, the Sidonians in the more upper north, Moab in the east, Bnei Ammon, Plishtim in the west. They worship all types of gods. And God punishes them and sends them the Plishtim of Bnei Ammon. They get attacked from the east and from the west. Ammon comes and invades from the east, and Plishtim, the sea, are coming from the west. They're being invaded and raided. Most of these nations, what they do, they're invading parties. They're not there to capture and govern. That's not their style. Their style is you raid, you loot. But that's how they work. And they suffer that and make them poor for 18 years. Who suffers though? Not everyone. The tribe in the northern eastern part, the Gilad, is on the other side of the Jordan, but the northern part. The Glor is beneath the Golan Heights. But in that northern area, that's where the Jews get the biggest blunt because they're right next to the Ammonim, Ammon and Moab. They go up north and attack them. But then it gets worse, and Bnei Ammon cross the river, and they attack Yehuda, Binyamin, Bet Ephraim, and then also the inner tribes until now were safe. The suffering expands to them as well. So we have the Plishtim, they're harassing, but they're always going to harass, invading parties. But the Ammonim, they're making it very bad, especially for the Gilad area. But they also started the invading parties crossing the river and invading inside central Israel.
What do they do when they invade? They kill?
They loot.
Casualties?
Loot.
Just stealing.
Just stealing. Just
ruining the business.
Ruining the business, stealing, looting, right? This is what they did. This is the way they're supposed to consider. You need money, you act, loot. And Bnei Israel, they wake up.
Only on the other side of the Yarden, there wasn't all on Israel.
There were 2.5 tribes, right? 2.5 tribes. But you get the Gilad, but now there are, so mainly 2.5 tribes. Who's 2.5 tribes? When God, right? And now we know the Gilad also, Binyamin, there at this point. They're a bit mixed up, but there was the main tribes, most of the people there for those tribes. They're the ones suffering the most, but also invading Ephraim and Yehuda. And Am Yisrael wake up and they find it's 18 years of suffering. They call out to God. They do tshuva. And then God sends a prophet and rebukes them and tells them, well, you call out to me until now, you worship all these idols, call out to them. You worship the Amaleki, the Shoftim gods, you worship the Ammoni gods. You know, they worship, call out to them, they should help you. Being a cynic, right? You left God, and therefore God does not want to save you. No. The prophet comes and says, in the name of God, no. Right? Had your chance, worship God. Turn to their God, the gods you worship. It's too late. No, it's all the time. Like, it's too late. I don't want to help you. And Bnei Israel say, Bnei Israel, they insist. Chatanu aseh lanu kotov benecha. I said, okay, new claim. Punish us. But you punish us. When the punishment comes from you, but save us today, punish us later. Fine, we accept it. We deserve the punishment. They're not trying to get away with it. Just, it's so bad. Take this punishment away. We're not saying we don't deserve a punishment, but not this. This is too much. And then that is worked. And then that's enough. And they get rid of all the idol worship. This is one of the first out of a few religious awakenings in Am Yisrael, where it comes in, get rid of your idols. Get rid of your idols. And everyone gets rid of the idols. And after they get rid of their idols, then God says, these are action, not their, we're sorry, we're really mistake. Those are words. We saw that we said in Yom Kippur. The Niver doesn't say that God saw their prayers or their tefillot or their lifting of their clothes. God saw their action. And therefore, when they were saying words, God said, no, there's no. And he saw their action. They got rid of the idol, then, and only worship Hashem, then God, it says, Hashem couldn't stand the suffering of Am Yisrael anymore. I mean, it comes to a place of mercy. God said, okay, this is too much. 18 years, the suffering is too much. But what's interesting, even to God, called to God, and God is not going to not going to intervene like He done. The next shofet, God is involved in a very, not actually in a good way. We'll see it in a second. So, and Bnei Ammon get ready for war against Am Yisrael. And they lay siege on Gilad, and Am Yisrael raised an army to fight them off. Now, the problem we don't have in time of Shoftim, there's no leader. If you have an army, all the people, it's not a Sadir army. Everyone, every able-bodied guy comes. So they all come. Okay, who's in charge? I'm in charge. Why should you be in charge? You be in charge. Nobody knows who's in charge. And they need to choose someone that's going to be in charge and lead the battle and make the decision. And they turned to somebody called Yiftach. Yiftach is Yiftach Gilad. He's from Gilad. That's his hometown. He knows the area. He knows the people. Obviously, more from other tribes. But his background story is he was, at a young age, kicked out from his own father's house. Why? He was a son of a prostitute his father had a relationship with, and he was born, his father was alive, he lived as one of the family. When his father dies, then his brothers kick him out, say, you're not a real son, you're not son of our mother, we don't want anything to do with it. They kick him out away from home.
Do we know his mother's name?
No, he's a prostitute. I'm not sure he knew his name. But anyway, Yiftach leaves and lives in a place called Eretz Tov. Eretz Tov. Where exactly is Eretz Tov? Most commentaries say it's the Ramat Golan, right? Like above. It's in the area of the Gilad. It's all in the east, north part of the country. Very, 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 and who joins him? Everyone, similar people that Anshim Rekim. What's Anshim Rekim? What is Rekim? Mitzvot. People that have nothing else. People that have nothing. Now, what do they do there? All they gather around here. It's a similar thing what that money was, it was a profession in the past of it was not mercenaries, but also mercenaries. You protected the area for payment, right? You live in the area. You are a clan of mercenaries. Yeah, do protection for payment. And if they need to hire you for a mercenary job, they hire you for a mercenary job. And that's how David HaMelech did that for very similar. David HaMelech for many years, same strategy, got a clan, tribe. The job was to protect the people in the area, collect protection, willingly, not willingly, unclear, but people pay them money to keep the area safe. And that's what his job was. And who joins him? People have nothing else. They move from place to place, wherever they need. Now, during this war, the elders of Gilad, they come and approach him and say, we want you to be the general. And Yiftach tells them, you hated me, you kicked me away, now you come when things are bad, right? Now, what does this remind you of, this conversation? A similar conversation we talked about 3 minutes ago.
Right, when Hashem said.
When Hashem, the same conversation, right? Oh, when Hashem, they call Hashem save us. What did Hashem say? You got rid of me. Go to God to do them. But the same conversation Am Yisrael has with God through the prophet. Now they're having that same conversation with Yiftach, showing this when you're not loyal, when you don't have this sense of loyalty, and then it reflects in not only in your Ben Adam Makom, reflects also Ben Adam Lacharo. When you live with that's family, we don't need him, we don't want to say when you meet someone, it doesn't work that way. Relationships, it's about commitment. It's about even when things are not so good, you stick together. You can't, when I need God, when I don't need God, no, it doesn't work that way. Loyalty is about good and bad, and that's what they're learning. And like first they're doing that message with God. Tells the same thing. You managed without me, you didn't need me beforehand. Now you're in trouble, you need me. And they say, Ata shavnu elecha. We're doing tshuva. You're right. You're right. We came to do, you're wrong. We're doing tshuva. I mean, only response to God's saying is, God, you're right. And they know that. You're right. We messed up. Right now we're trying to do amends. But we'll give you a deal. If you be general, this war, and then we'll make you also our leader, our political leader. You'll be a ruler of all the Shrei Gilad. And then Gilad says, okay, want to take an oath on this? This is the deal. I help you win the war. If and when I win the war, I'm not your general, one-time general. I am now your king, your ruler of this area, of the Gilad. And they swear in the name of God, done deal. And God then is the pasuk that's very interesting. Pasuk Yud Aleph Yud. Ve'elech Yiftach l'ifnei Gilad, ve'estimu amato aleim l'rosh v'lechatin. They appoint him as a general. Ve'deber Yiftach et kol devarav l'ifnei Hashem b'mitzvah. Meaning, again, in front of the people, he repeats in front of God the terms of the deal. I'm not helping you out from the kindness of my heart. I'm doing this as a deal. What's the deal? I win the war, you give me, in return, make me in charge. Right? Remember, that's the deal. Nothing's for free, nothing for granted. Everything is give and take. I give this is what I want in return. We see that karma comes around.
What made him follow him in the first place? If he was like guy who got started in
No. He was already head of a big mercenary band.
He was the leader. Yeah.
Yeah, he had an army, and we need someone with army experience. This is what he does for a living. He's head of a mercenary band. He has them, and he knows tactics. He fought before. We didn't fight in big numbers. Every tried for himself. With 18 years, we got out of fight. So, some experience is better than none. So actually, Yiftach, very surprising, starts with diplomacy. my fight, your fight, and he sends messengers a very long letter to the people of Ammon, trying to discourage them from war. Now, what's the most amazing about when you see the letter in fact that history repeats itself because it's a very well delivered message. It has reasons A, reason B, reason two, history, talks to emotion, talks about intellect, talks about history. Every claim you can have from every field possible, historical, theological, tactical, threatening, economic, and the response he gets returned is no. Right? That's about it. No. When you coming back, reflect 2,000 years in the future, everyone talk to Palestinians. Oh, all this history. No matter, you can have the biggest, best claims ever. It makes no sense for so many reasons. The answer is like, no, you want to fight. So let's see his long letter, which is full of history, his different claims why there should be no war, why someone should stop attacking us. Again, they're coming to attack us. Now, so he says, the first claim says, oh, you must think you want to attack us to capture the Gilad, because we captured this from Sichon Melech HaBashan, and he took it from your ancestors. So it's a territorial claim, right? Kibush, kibush, right? Now, we all know 18 years they're fighting for kibush. They want to steal, right? That's the whole story. But anyway, he said, if it's about the kibush, listen, let me tell you the history. There's no problem with kibush here. Why? Historically, when Am Yisrael left Israel, we want to enter the land. We tried to go through Bnei Ammon and Bnei Moab. God told us, no, if they don't allow you, go around. And we went around because that land belongs to you. However, when we went to Sichon, we offered peacefully to go through, he said, no, he attacked us. He attacked us. In response to being attacked, we went and captured him. And that's what, right, she went around Moab and Edom, and Sichon, Melech Heshbon, he didn't allow us, and he attacked us, and we won. And that's what we captured. Now, so first of all, this is our land. Right, so we captured it. We didn't capture it from you. But yours is yours, but ours is ours. That's claim number one, historically attack. Now, second claim, you think you can defeat us? We, the Amorim, were much more stronger than you were. And their God didn't, and we were successful. You know the God Hashem of Israel is? You think that your God is named Kmosh. Right? Whatever our God give us belongs to us. Your God gave you Ammon, that's yours. Our God gave us the Gilad, it's ours. It's just the illogical thing. We all both agree that you can't own land if your God didn't give it to you. So your God promised you this land. No, we didn't. Your God took it away from you. Our God gave it to us. So what's ours is ours by presence of God. What's yours is yours by your presence of your God. That's theological thing. But historical, you have no right. Psycho-theological. Don't you agree theologically that you can't own land that wasn't given to you by your God? Claim number 3. From Pasuk Kafei, if you want to follow. You think you'll be able to defeat us? You think you're stronger than Balak, than Tzipor? You know Balak, you're a king, right? So if you know the story when he messed with Am Yisrael, he was defeated. Why? Because our God is stronger than your God. Just like God defeated your God then, when you had Balak and Bilam, same thing. Nothing changed. God will we beat you then, we'll beat you again. It's already going threatening, right? We had historical, not your right. Theological, come on, it's not fair. God didn't give it to you. Your God didn't give it to you, so you have no right to it. And third, our God defeated your God before, we can do it again. We'll do it again. The last claim is that proves in text, where were you for the last 300 years? All of a sudden you remember once upon a time before Sichon took it from us, and now you said Sichon is ours. Come on, 300 years you didn't claim it. Why didn't you claim it in 300 years? Because you knew it's ours. You admitted it's our land. All of a sudden, 300 years later, you say it's our land hundreds of years ago. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So all your claims are baloney. The land is not yours. You're just looking for an excuse to attack us. And if you attack us, God, who is with us, will judge you, and we will be victorious. That's his long letter, starting out with claims, historical, theological, threatening army, also right? We're going to win. Your choice. And his answer is, right? He says, no, that's not, like, one line. Like,
Yiftach actually, okay.
what?
Oh, Yiftach actually, thank you. What's that? Oh, okay, no problem, you're right, fine.
He actually did. Because
There's no strategy behind
it seems that the army this time, Ammon, was there to capture, not this raiding party. That's why it's a bigger deal. But times the army wasn't a raiding party. It was a conqueror party. And that's why it may have differed. And that's why it wasn't up till now. So now with this raiding, you go and you do harassing. Now it's actually capturing. And he said, this is passing the line. So he refuses. What does Yiftach do? Yiftach is Israeli. And he does something very surprising. He brings the word to them. Deep into Moab. He takes his army, says, we're going past the Gilad, right? And we go south into Bnei Ammon, and we bring the word to them. Bnei Ammon are ready for the offense. When you're about to attack, you know wars when you're attacked. Different strategy in defense and offense. Offense, it's gathering ground, and when you're defense, you're bunkered in, right? Building forts, walls. Ammon, he knows they're on the offense. They're sure we're going to go in defense, which is the safer thing to do. But Gilad, this Ruach Hashem, is inspired by God, and it says, we're going to surprise them. We're going to attack them, go on the offense. Something they're not expecting us to do. Only a crazy person would go when you're about to be attacked, go on offense. And that's what he does. And before he goes, there's a deal with God. Which he's a deal guy. He does, nothing's for free. And what's the deal? For God, very important to read this. This is in Pasuk Lamed. Pasuk Lamed. וידור יפתח נדר לאדוני ויאמר אם נתון תיתן את בני עמון בידי, I'm victorious, והיה יוצא שיצא מדלתי ביתי לקראתי בשבי בשלום מבני עמון והאדוני ויתר עולם. The first thing to meet, leave my house, my door, to greet me when I come back in one piece from the war, I will give it to God, and I will להעלות it in עולם. Those are the words of his neder. And he goes, he surprise attacks them, he's victorious, destroys 20 cities of Ammon, 20 settlements of Ammon, and until they surrender. The king surrendered. It doesn't say they killed their king, which means they were able to surrender. Fine. Bnei Ammon surrendered, and then, very short, on 2 psukim out of the battle. Usually psukim, a lot out of the battle. 2 psukim out of the battle. And then they both talk about they coming home. The first thing to greet him when he is he comes home, his daughter comes out singing and dancing, playing music instruments. His only child. When he sees her, you defeated me. Now I thought I won the war, but now you defeated me. I spoke to God and I can't take my words back. And she tells him, Father, you spoke to God, do whatever you said, because you won the war. The deal's a deal. But he said, yeah, give me a deal, give me 2 months, and I'll go to the mountain, and I'll cry, I'll get to life, I'll never he's not going to get married, me and my friend. And he says, fine, he goes for 2 months, after 2 months, he comes back, and he does what he promised, and she never got married. And Miyamim, and from that time onwards, there's a new minhag, that 4 days a year, all the not married women would go up to the mountains and cry and say, sing songs in memory of, in honor of Yiftach.
Which 4 days?
Very good question. Actually, there is a Gemara that's when it is. I'm trying to remember whether it was 4 days. The Gemara talks about it was 4 days. Now, what's going on here?
So what is going on here?
What is going on here?
What was,
Did he really?
what was her fate?
What was her fate? Was she really killed or not? Now, I'll tell you, there's many proofs that in Chazal and in the Psukim that she wasn't actually killed. What's the proof that she wasn't actually killed? First of all, from a halakha perspective, human sacrifice is forbidden. Human sacrifice, if a pig were to come out.
But that's what he said. Those were his words.
What?
Those were his words to say, it didn't really mean that, and they put her in the attic, but those were not his words.
That's not, but he was words inside. He was words inside. So halakha is a big problem here. Because if someone makes a vow to do a sin, it doesn't catch. The vow doesn't catch. Right? You can't vow to do a sin. Right? And this is not a kosher korban. Right? Even with Yiftach never happened. Human sacrifice is always found.
It could have been Hatar.
Now the Gemara,
Could have been Hatar.
the Gemara says, and the big problem, why did they do Hatar Nedarim? Now that question, the Gemara says, they could have done Hatar Nedarim. It was just ego. Now, the fact that the Gemara says they could have Hatar Nedarim is a very important question. Meaning, the neder actually stuck. How did the neder catch on if it was a neder to do a sin? And the Gemara shouldn't address the question of Hatar Nedarim, because you do not need Hatar Nedarim if you make a neder to do a sin.
Here, it became a sin, or by virtue of the fact that it sort of came out. He obviously expected it to be a korban, an animal, a sheep, cow.
It's awesome, like a toad, right?
That's the basis for the Hatar.
Yeah.
That's right. He never, but he never intended to be a sacrifice.
Therefore, a rabbi can very easily annul it, but it wasn't annulled. He said, this is the way I spoke. Now, this is what is important. He said, I'm a man of my word. A deal is a deal. And his daughter said, I agree, a deal is a deal. Meaning he's not going through halacha. He says, listen, I spoke, I did deal with God. This is my deal. This is the deal with God. God gave you his part of the deal. We keep our deal. Now, why do you think Yiftach chose out of all things? Why did he make this neder? The first thing to come out of my house. Like, what?
What would you think?
Like, why? It's kind of a weird neder. Right? So we don't really have that. I think it might, see the context of what's going on here. Yiftach was an outcast. He didn't have a house. He didn't have a family. The deal was, he comes back, he has a family again and a home again. He goes to Gilad's home. He's not living at his home anymore. Meaning, part of the deal when he got this position was, he has a home. And he's always excited he has a family. He's accepted. And he's so happy that he has his home. God gave him, in his mind, yeah, he did a deal to get win the battle. From his perspective, God blessed him with a home at last. He has a home again after all these years of being kicked out. And therefore, when God gives you something, Maser, you want to give part of what the tov you get from Hashem, you want to give part of it back to Hashem. Hashem, you gave me a home again. You gave me, I want to give something back to you. And therefore, he wasn't thinking, but that was the thought. Until now, I didn't have a home. I was wandering forever. There's no place I can call home. I can even make this another. Now I can make this another because I have a home. And therefore, she talks about the home, not thinking about my home. There's other things at home. One daughter comes and greets him. So, but what are the words? Unless you want to keep his words, if you want. So if you want to take action, you could simply say, yeah, he killed it. We're talking about a light world of idol worshippers, right? We just talked about how deep they were into idol worshiping. That was the name of it. That's what they were doing. They just had a spiritual awakening, right? The new and this only Avodat Hashem. And these idol worshippers, we're going to see the king of Moab is very big into Moabites, are very big into sacrificing sons. We're going to see that later on. And if we see that later on, even in the time of Elisha, they wage war on Bnei Ammon, and the king there takes his son, sacrifices him. Horrible, right? It's part to win the war. He sacrifices his son. So we know that, and we knew they were worshiping idols of Ammon and Moab. We know their gods were into sacrificing children in the context of winning the war. So it's not, if you want to go that direction, you can say that was influence, right? They didn't do it for idol worshiping, they did it for God. Okay, now the guy thought it was okay. The reason I don't think that's possible is because the Gesher. If you read the Psukim couldn't care less about the being killed. The Psukim repeat again and again and again and again and again. One fact. What's the tragedy here? What? She's never going to have to get married. That's the tragedy. Not that she's dead, that she won't have any children. Now we know someone else who promised their son to God. Who else promised their son to God? Who? Chana. Chana promised her son to God. She didn't say that to Allah, but she said, I promised my son to God. And what does it mean you promised your son to God? Sacrifice. Well, what'd she do? She brought him to the Mishkan. Dedicate your life to the Mishkan. You are now a servant of God for the rest of your life. This is what you do. The equivalent to a monk or a priest or not a sister, right? What do they call? A nun. A nun. Someone's dedicated to God. They can't marry because they're married to God. They can't be dedicated to the husband because they're dedicated to the Mikdash. They're dedicated to the Mishkan. We know that, and she used a similar phrase. Yes, you don't have two things here in two psukim. He said, I will give her to God. And then he says, and I will sacrifice it. So obviously you can't sacrifice. But if you go to the word she used in his neder, his words were, Vayala Hashem, Valitei Olam. Two things. I'm dedicating to God, and I was sacrificing. He obviously cannot do the second part, but Vayala Hashem, we know we could. We saw that. We're going to see that in time. Shmuel, apparently, it was a thing to give a child to Hashem. Give a child to Hashem, not a sacrifice, but have them go and dedicate their life to the Mishkan, dedicate their life to God.
So Hashem told out from studious stuff.
Yeah, right there.
That's the proof that he doesn't perhaps.
Yeah, interesting. Throwing out throughout to it's going to be in Kedat Yiftach. It's in the same phrase.
Wasn't there a measure? Yiftach before he gave before Moshe made his promise to be written for a son, read him about his Zara.
Yeah. So there is this concept of giving a son to God, which doesn't mean to sacrifice necessarily. So, two approaches. First approach, just idol worshiping influence. You have 18 years of hardcore idol worshiping in a nation that does sacrifice children, right? You do tshuva, you kind of forget these kind of basic things. We don't do that. We don't? No, that's option number one. Personally, it doesn't work with the words because the emphasis is not about she's going to die, but rather that no children, no children, no children, no children, no children. I'll never get married, never get married, never get married. Okay? And they go, and the minute years later is to cry, not that she died, but to cry the fact that she never got married. It's because of the two now. Okay? So I think from there, and the fact that, from the Gemara, that they talk about the neder actually working, that there's two parts to the neder. The neder is Ve'al Hashem, which means dedicated for God, be a nun, and Hadatei Olah. Can't marry Olah, but you could, and the tragedy, Yiftach, so much wanted the family, eventually, and thought he was getting his family, joining the family, getting everything back that was taken away from him. Eventually, he loses everything and ends up without a family when his only daughter is taken away from him. Now, there is the second part of the story that beginning tomorrow, which is continuation. People are going to mess with Yiftach right after this happens. It's not a good time to mess with Yiftach.
Never married.
Yeah, she's dedicated to God. She's obligated to God, obligated to the Mishkan. From
Shmuel did marry, you know, like the
Shmuel was given. No, a good question. Why is Shmuel leave? Shmuel was given to the Mikdash as a child, and as an adult chose to leave. She said, "Whatever, Father, I agree to whatever you said." She didn't have to say that. By agreeing, she willingly goes to agree to. She could have said no. She said, "No, Father, I agree to whatever you spoke to God. I accept upon myself." And she accepted upon herself as an adult. She needs to get out of it. She could maybe, but
here the nether is at the expense of someone else.
she agreed to it. She agreed to it.
At the end, she didn't know about it before.
No.
She was kind of stuck, you know. He could have said, "I want to do something in myself." Okay,
Because whatever
the pain
said,
is his pain, but it's
who else made a neder, and the son paid the price, and the father said, "Whatever you do, Father, whatever you say, you should do." Very similar story. Father makes a stupid neder, and the son pays the price, almost pays the price. Right? Shaul and Jonathan. Shaul makes a neder, we're neder. Nobody eats. If somebody eats till the war is over, you're gonna be killed. Right? I don't care. And Jonathan didn't hear it, and he ate some honey. And then they were gonna kill him, and he said, "Listen, Ephes." He said, "Stupid neder. Would eat, fight better. But if you spoke, that's another, kill me." And the people protest. People there say, "No, you're not killing your son." And that would be, so that's a very, very similar story. They give money to.